Introduce ourselves.
Bridget Dory, Communications Manager.
Leslie Kirby, interim clerk.
Happy St. Patrick's Day. I'm Commissioner Denise Treehouse.
Jeff Aludo, County Administrator. Michael Friedman, Legal Counsel.
Thank you so much. Stephanie Summerall Dumas, Chair of the Hamilton County Board of Commissioners, and Vice President Reese will be in shortly. So we'll start out as we always do with silent prayer. And after which, if you could please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you so much. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes of the previous session.
Second.
Commissioner Summerall Dumas,
Yes.
Commissioner Dreehouse.
Yes.
Thank you so much. And next, our order of business, we have a Severe Weather Awareness Week. And we have a proclamation, and I would like to read it, and then our director, Mr. Nick Crosley, will give some comments as it relates to this. So proclaiming March 20 through 26, 2022 as Severe Weather Awareness Week in Hamilton County. Whereas Severe Weather Awareness Week creates an important opportunity for every resident, worker, and visitor of Hamilton County to become educated, informed, and able to prepare their homes and businesses for severe weather facing the area. And whereas investing in the preparedness and education of ourselves, families, and businesses can reduce fatalities and economic devastation in our communities. And whereas preparedness against severe weather is the responsibility of every resident in Hamilton County, and all residents are urged to make preparedness a priority and work together to ensure that individuals, families, and communities are prepared for severe weather. And whereas all residents of Hamilton County are encouraged to participate in personal preparedness and severe weather informational activities and are asked to register for the mass public notification system, Alert Hamilton County, and to follow Hamilton County Emergency Management and Homeland Security Agency on social media. And whereas the Hamilton County Emergency Management and Homeland Security Agency and National Weather Service Wilmington are working to increase public activities and knowledge and preparation for severe weather by hosting Severe Weather Awareness Week. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that Hamilton County Board of County Commissioners encourages all residents, businesses, and communities to develop their own severe weather preparedness plans. Be it further proclaimed that on behalf of all the residents and community members of Hamilton County, this board does hereby proclaim March the 20th through the 26th, 2022 as Severe Weather Awareness Week. And this is signed by all our commissioners.
Thank you, Commissioner and Commissioner. I just got a text that threw me off for a minute. Summerall Dumas and Commissioner Dreehouse. So as you know, we're here every year for the same thing. I was just talking to Commissioner Dreehouse and mentioned that 2 years ago this week was about the time we declared a state of emergency for the COVID-19 virus, and then almost stayed in a continuous state of emergency except for a few months for the last 2 years. 2 years ago is also the time we got a call from Hamilton County Public Health to take over distribution of PPE, and 20 million pieces of PPE distributed to our community later. We are now hopefully slowing down on that activity so we can focus back on which is just as great of a threat, which is all the natural hazards. We just like to bring attention to the fact that Hamilton County faces natural hazards, I would say, except for snow and ice, which we're sort of used to, flooding, high wind events, some tornadoes, flash flooding from about February through December. And so we used to have this sort of period. It was like, we'll go March until about July. But now we're starting to see these events. And so our goal at the agency, one, is to make sure that the county is prepared to respond and recover from disasters. We work with all of our communities to help them prepare and to respond and recover. And then, of course, we do an aggressive effort continuously year round to try to educate the public on how to be more resilient themselves. And so this is just a way to highlight the fact that we're entering this season again. We've already had the river headed toward flood stage. We anticipate that happening again as we get into spring. And we just encourage all residents to sign up for Alert Hamilton County. So the first thing you can do is be aware of a hazard. So that's at alerthc.org. And then with that, they'll be able to sign up for Smart 911, which is a great another service offered by Hamilton County Communication Center. And then following that, being prepared for any of the hazards that may impact their particular house or business. So that's why we're here today, and I appreciate your recognition of that work.
Thank you so much. I can't think of a better way to highlight it. And you and your staff have just been, I can't even explain how steadfast, immovable, and you knew what the mission was and you accomplished it. We're still not out of the woods as it relates to COVID, but you guys have just been awesome. Commissioner Dreehouse.
Yeah, thank you. Good to see you, Nick. Thank you for bringing some of your team. So the severe weather and all the emergent events that could occur here, I know you're always at the ready with the local jurisdictions to react to those things. But your partnership during COVID has been invaluable. We could not have done it without you. The distribution of PPE was complicated. People didn't understand how to get it. They didn't know what they didn't know by way of what they needed. And so your team was so very helpful, particularly to nursing homes at the very beginning and some of the care facilities, the schools who eventually went back in and didn't have enough PPE. Our first responders in every single jurisdiction in the county, all 49 of them depended on you to give them access to masks and gloves and gowns and all the rest. So it was really a phenomenal feat. And you did it with relative ease. And so again, thank you for everything that you do related to all emergent events, but particularly as we have made our way. I don't feel like we're finished with COVID quite yet, unfortunately, but you have really been a terrific partner.
And I'll just say that related to that. So while we have slowed down our distribution and we do have a cache, especially to help medical providers, first responders, our local communities, things like that. We are ready to ramp that up should something happen in the next 6 months or so. So we will, we have that cash set aside. We've been able to do that with your support. And so we will be prepared to start that distribution again if needed.
And I was going to also highlight the warehouse, the supplies and how you have it organized. I've not been in there, but I can imagine knowing Nick, that is extremely organized. There's no problem locating what we need. So that was also a task that you accomplished. Vice President Reese.
I just want to say every time we see Nick, it's always awards. He does a fantastic job and represents us well. We're a leader in the whole state. You've been doing a great job in leading those efforts, but I like the coordination component. One of the things when I first got here, you said, hey, it's about coordinating everyone. You also talked about in our last board meeting that we had with emergency management about the relationships, new relationships that you were able to form with churches and other nonprofits. And you were indicating that you want to keep those relationships going as we move forward. But this severe weather piece is real, especially with climate change and things. And so I learned a lot from that meeting because I wasn't prepared, going into the basement, make sure you have, everything ready to go. And we talked about possibly having some of those trainings through those nonprofits and churches to be able to train their parishioners on these type of things. So you're always doing innovative things and, congratulations again. I would just say Severe Weather Awareness Week is like, okay, I sound like a meteorologist, but it's basically just making sure that we're prepared and making sure that we're ready. So we stay ready so we don't have to get ready. So congratulations.
Yeah. Well, we know people have a lot going on, so we just like to just poke them every now and then, remind them that while we have severe thunderstorms all the time, they're pretty routine. It doesn't take much for a tornado to come along or more so a straight line wind event. We get some pretty wicked winds in Hamilton County. And then of course the flash flooding and the flooding. And we have stories about that all the time. So it's a lot of work, but we're up to it.
We're going to take a picture with you if you allow us. Okay.
Yes, keep you in the center. Oh, very good. Thank you. Jeez.
Okay, we will move forward. Just checked and there are no public comments. So we will move forward to our next item on the agenda. And I have a few comments I'd like to make. Well, first of all, as Commissioner Dreehouse had indicated, happy St. Patrick's Day. That's why we have our green on today. And I just did a little brief research, and St. Patrick's Day is a cultural and religious festival held annually on March the 17th to mark St. Patrick, the patron saint of Ireland. So none of us know if we have any Irish in us or not. Look back. Oh yeah, that's the ones that know it, they know it. But I found out that I have some. So you knew it, Bridget knew it, and I'm looking at Leslie over there. And you probably have some too, Vice President Reese. We have some everything. So, but I want to recognize that we could not go without recognizing every culture, and we make a habit of doing that as a board. And secondly, you see my camouflage is still green, but it was, last night I watched the news, and there are some older women in Ukraine that stayed back in their homeland, and they're sewing up uniforms and flax jackets for protection. And I just felt for them, and they were singing in there and they were doing everything that they could do. So as we have recognized Ukraine and we pray for the people of Ukraine and Russia, I just wanted to also continue to include them in my prayers as we look at this conflict and hope that it will end soon. Also, in addition, I participated in a webinar with Hamilton County Public Health District Advisory Council. I am the legislative person representing the board on that council. And so Commissioner Greg Kessler has done, and his staff have done outstanding work during this period. And it was evidenced in the statistics and the data that was presented. And in addition, as I said, once a week, I sit in on the White House briefings. And they're not talking about COVID right now. Understandably, they're talking about the conflict in Ukraine and Russia. Nothing that we are not hearing already, but if anything comes up that I need to share, as I said last week, I will make sure to do that. In addition, I got 2 great letters from students from Turpin High School. I don't know if you guys got any at all, but one, they're in government class. And one of the letters said that he was forced to write me. So I can imagine the things he brought up, though, I thought were really unique and creative. And so I'm sure that he needs a response from me in order to maybe get his grade or whatever. And if either one of them are watching, I certainly will be sending you a letter in response to your questions that you had for me. And that's all I have. I will pass it to Vice President Reese.
Thank you. I do have a couple. As mentioned, obviously, you just mentioned about St. Patrick's Day and us in the green, but I'm also wearing green for Taft High School boys. I wish them the best of luck. They're in the Final Four, and it is March. It's March Madness, and I love. People know me. I love sports, love basketball, and a number of other sports. I played basketball, and just excited about that. So in a memory of my mother, who was a Taft senator, I'm wearing the green also for Taft. So let's go Senators. In addition, I want to also acknowledge Purcell Marion girls basketball team. They won the Division III state championship, and just excited about that. And Madam President, I would like to want to work with Ozzie Davis. I had a conversation with him earlier, we have a number of athletes and athletic teams throughout Hamilton County that are winning or doing some phenomenal things. And in honor of March Madness, maybe having a day where they could come and be recognized. Purcell, of course, girls winning the state championship, and a number of others that need to also be recognized. Because I also want to recognize basketball athlete, I want you to remember this name, Paul McMillan from Woodward High School. And he passed up LeBron James's Ohio Athletic Association all-time scoring list. He beat LeBron. And I don't like a lot of people beating LeBron, but I'll let him beat LeBron. And so just really proud of what he and Woodward was able to do. But that's huge. It has made national news. I would like to recognize him because that's not easy to do, to be able to score and make that type of list that will be in the history books for many years until someone breaks his record, which is not very easy to do. So want to have him come as well and be recognized as well. And that was a big, big day for March Madness for our county. We got some great things going on. In addition, wanted to also acknowledge that we gave a resolution to the church for Reverend Russo O'Neill. They had a whole weekend. They asked for us to have a proclamation for their ceremony at Rockdale Baptist Church, and we did provide that. In addition, he had a street naming in honor of him, and Reverend Russo was a longtime family friend. Unfortunately, I had an ankle situation, and that's why I asked the administrator, when is this elevator going to be fixed? But I had an ankle, so I can't hit the steps. I'd love to hit the steps, but I can't because of an ankle injury. But I wasn't able to attend the street naming. I believe Representative Driehaus was at the street naming, and my chief of staff, Quentin Monroe, Pastor Quentin Monroe was there.
You said state rep. Driehaus.
Oh my goodness, I'm taking us back to County Commissioner Driehaus. We'd have been too many places together. Commissioner Driehaus was there, as well as my chief of staff, Pastor Quentin Monroe was also there. So certainly Reverend Russo made a major mark on this community, as well as the state and our country. Also wanted to indicate that we have the Ain't Too Proud to Beg tour that has hit here in Cincinnati. I got a chance to see it when it was in New York on Broadway. And then I think after that, unfortunately COVID hit and Broadway shut down in New York. We're excited to have it here at the Aronoff. But I got some exciting news that next week, they will be coming here and be honored here. And it talks about the story of the Temptations. And as you know, we have our Cincinnati Black Music Walk of Fame that's being built. And so wanted to have them come by, and I'm excited about that, to have them be a guest and be recognized for the Ain't Too Proud to Beg, which is at the Aronoff. So they'll be here next week. But lastly, I just wanted to let the administrator know we want to have a check. We're still getting some calls about people not getting their assistance checks in a timely manner. And as was reported in the paper, I think it was today or in the news today, Waterworks will, as of April 4th, be turning people off. So as April 4th, they will be shutting people off. And so people have been, they've gone through the paperwork, they've been patient, they've been in the pipeline, they've done all the things we've asked them to do, but the check has not gotten to Waterworks or Duke Energy or the landlord. So can we please get an update on where we are as it relates to, I don't know who is responsible for that, but if we could get a report, because we are still getting calls on that issue, and certainly that's very important. So that's what I have right now. And yeah, that's what I have right now. Thanks.
Thank you. Commissioner Driehaus.
Thank you. I too want to wish everyone a happy St. Patrick's Day. I'm not sure how Irish I am, but I think it's about 50%. So my dad was very Irish. So the name Driehaus doesn't really indicate how Irish I am, but today is the day to embrace it for everybody. So we're all 100% Irish today. So just a couple of things, a lot of you can tell that things are starting to open back up because we're all doing so many things and moving around the community. And so I've been out and about going to different events, but a lot of them were around youth this past week. Lighthouse Youth Services opened up a facility for young girls up in, it's in the Mount Auburn area. And it is new, it is fresh, it is a great place for these young women to go and be safe, when they otherwise would maybe be on the streets or definitely not safe. And so a shout out to Lighthouse for their continued work with youth in this county, and congratulations on the new facility up there. And I also attended the Farm Bureau dinner last night, where a group of students talked about how they're rescuing food, and they've created a food pantry that they operate, and they're helping needy people have access to food and rescuing food at the same time. And it was really impressive. And I thought, well, if this is the future of the county, then it's all good, because they were just remarkable, and they presented, they were very well spoken. So I just wanted to, it's called G Foods, JEE Foods. And it was really something to have them talk about their mission and what they're trying to do as young people. And then I had the opportunity to speak at a couple different schools, Fairview Clifton German Language School and Cincinnati Country Day. And it's always good fun to be around young people. So one last thing, as I was out at the one school, Cincinnati Country Day, there was a naturalization ceremony going on outside in the sunshine. And, it is a reminder of how, people are coming to this country, how we welcome these people and welcome the diversity they bring to this country, knowing that we've got such challenges overseas in the Ukraine, and all the turmoil and devastation that's happening overseas. And yet we still have a beautiful naturalization ceremony here with, I believe it was Judge DeLotte and others participating. So it was a moment of uplift for myself and those that attended. So it's just been a difficult time, I think. I mean, it's a time to level set, I think, for all of us, given what's happening on the global stage. But it was really a very inspirational ceremony. Thank you.
Thank you. I just have a couple more comments. And Reverend Russo O'Neill, we're on Forest Park Council together, and those were some great days together. Vice President Reese, you had mentioned about the musical group that's coming here, and you said they're coming by here. Are they coming to our meeting, or are they just going to have the performance? Is that?
Oh, no, we're trying to get them scheduled maybe to come by a meeting, and we can
Okay.
acknowledge
I wanted to
them.
make sure.
Yes.
Okay.
I think the two offices of worker, they just gave us word that they would be able to have some of the performers. And
Okay.
I thought it'd be pretty cool to have.
That would
them.
be great. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Maybe we can be, no, I don't want, I won't start singing.
Okay.
No, me neither. But
Yeah.
if they could perform.
Oh,
be awesome.
we'd have to pay them.
Look at
Well,
Commissioner Treehouse is putting.
Listen,
Yeah.
I go
yeah.
to all those shows. It's good fun. Yeah.
And lastly, Paul McMillan, who's at Woodward, he is fantastic. I know my chief of staff has been talking with him, working with him to see how we can recognize him. And he was just listed as the best player in the state, basketball player in the state of Ohio. So certainly we can coordinate something and have it a sports day. So I just wanted to mention that.
Madam President,
Uh-huh.
can I ask you one more thing I
Sure.
forgot to acknowledge before we go to our administrator, that I would want to put on the docket for us to get an update. It says that I received something saying that we want to get an update on the primaries. We have elections this year, primaries, because I want to know if we have more than one primary. I understand it might be some issues financially. And as from our perspective, the Board of Elections, are we able to afford it? I know I had talked with Chip Gerhardt, who's also on the board. So this is not a Democrat or Republican issue, this is an election issue, and wanted to make sure we get some kind of update on, do we have enough money, or if it's gonna, if it costs more, where does that come from? I understand there was some concerns about having enough certain kind of paper to make more than one ballot, enough ink. I just think we need to get an update from the Board of Elections, maybe, I don't know what type of forum we should do it, but they come forward so the public kind of understands, and we understand if there is some financial implications as it relates to that. And if dates are changing, how we're promoting that so that people are aware, because they're already, taking on a lot with COVID, and we're open now and just a lot of different things. So I just think that's important, that we would have a time for the Board of Elections to come forward, maybe Madam President, I don't know, come forward to talk about, what are the financial implications, what are the dates, so that we could cut down on confusion, and also economically, we could properly plan if we need to.
Well, I don't know about cutting down on confusion. It's been so much, but I hear what you're saying. Yeah, the Secretary of State will let people know where we are as far as registration. But Jeff, did you want to,
Can I
as far as
just,
the
and
primary?
we did weigh in with a letter of objection about these two primaries because of the cost. And as Jeff, can I also ask for an update? We did. Didn't the board weigh in on the issue of two primaries or a delayed primary? I thought we did. Maybe it was the CCAO.
No, I
It
think
was probably the
CCAO may have.
CCAO.
I don't think that the board did.
No, don't
I
remember.
apologize. It was the County Commissioners Association of Ohio, and I'm on the board. That's, so I'm getting confused. Can I ask also that Jeff comment, because Commissioner Reese, you mentioned at the last meeting about trying to make sure, as you talk about these cutoffs, that the folks at Duke Energy are talking to the folks at JFS and trying to make sure that the folks that are facing cutoffs get connected to the relief that we've provided through JFS. And so I happened to be sitting next to Amy Spiller, that I think it was the night that you brought it up and mentioned it to her too. So I would be curious to know if there's an update related to
Well,
that as
yeah,
well.
let's try to answer this one first, and then you can answer the second as it relates to the elections.
Thank you, Commissioner. So on the elections, we have been talking to Board of Elections. I know there's some action at the state level as well in terms of potential funding for additional election costs, that type of thing. But John, do you want to give a brief update in terms of conversations with BOE right now? We can certainly have them in for a more formal discussion, and we can provide this to the board in a more formal report. But for now, John, you want to give some?
Yeah, really, the only thing I know right now is that we do have an allocation of additional funding from the state at the Board of Elections. They've already received it. It's about $480,000 for additional primary costs. I think that's still up in the air, but certainly we have already seen the state stepping forward, realizing that there will be additional cost and funding, at least some of that.
That's great. Thanks.
And we can get you a more formal report just on timing, logistics, any other concerns that BOE has right now, as well as the status of additional state legislation on helping to cover additional costs.
And Madam President, on that same note, could we also just ask about staffing? Because we have a lot of, it's hard to get poll workers. So we've got a funding issue and a staff issue. And just want to make sure that we know those complications up front, and what can we do to help with those complications?
Absolutely. And poll worker support is something that we've traditionally tried to help out with Board of Elections. That's obviously, as you mentioned, Madam Vice President, that's an annual issue for them, and the board has helped by having some personnel policies that encourage people to take time to become poll workers. And we're working with Board of Election staff on maybe some additional tweaks we can make to that policy to make it even more incentivizing for people to help out. So we'll definitely get back to the board on
And
that.
fortunately, it's an off election. It's not a presidential election, which you don't need as much staff, but you still need staff, especially if we end up having two primaries. So would you like to answer that other
Sure.
question?
And
that came up?
Commissioner Dreehouse's question, first of all, we will follow up with a more formal report to the board on just the status of emergency rental assistance and utility assistance and the different positions of different utilities as it relates to cutoff. As the board is aware, some of these utilities like waterworks, et cetera, they've got payment plans, et cetera, that people can get funneled into. But we also want to make sure that as we are providing this rental assistance, that when it's approved, that we don't have this delay time, or that there's not an inefficiency between when the check is is approved and when it gets to someone, and that's not the reason for a cutoff, an eviction, that type of thing. So I know that our staff at JFS is working directly with Duke Energy to try to close that gap. I'll get a report to finalize where that is. I will also say that our staff, in particular at JFS, has been doing a great job. First of all, the board's been doing a very good job of funneling individual constituent concerns to the administration. And when those happen, our JFS staff work very diligently to follow up on those individually and try to get them connected and those concerns resolved. So if you have people that are calling you, continue to funnel those to us. We'll continue to work those cases individually, but we'll also get back to the board on any specific improvements that have occurred relating to the conversations between JFS, Duke Energy, and Waterworks as well.
Madam President,
Mhm.
I just want to just reiterate on that. We now have to expedite because now the bill collectors no longer have handcuffs. They got to, and if we go back to what we used to have, most of those dollars for your utility, particularly gas and electric, they don't have a lot of payment plan options. They got a few, but not very many. And they send you to the Community Action Agency because that's where the state, obviously everyone's gas and electric bill has a little fee on it, goes to the PUCO, goes to the Community Action Agency. Now, they already got a backup. I mean, they're moving slower than our JFS is moving. And so they will then be sent to those traditional measures. And those measures are income-based with already an organization that has a major backup. So I would just encourage, that's why they have these American Rescue dollars that really captures the middle class, if you will. Middle class has like 15 layers, captures them. And I just hope that our message should be, we need an expedite. We've had a chance to run this exercise now for going on 2 years maybe, and we should have this thing down packed now to a science. And no one should be really in our pipeline in terms of a major way. So that's what I wanted to put out there. I know they say, we got these programs and all that. It's the old programs that we had, and you had to almost be destitute to get the programs. And then when you get the programs, you had to, go over to the Community Action Agency, who now, our understanding, has a backlog because of other applications that they've had. So I just would hope we can move in an expeditious way to get this resolved, since Duke Energy and the Waterworks will be also moving in an expeditious way to cut people off.
Thank you. Okay, Jeff.
Thank you, Madam President. Just a couple of, I don't have any formal by leave items, but just a few comments. First of all, just on a personal basis, as a graduate of Turpin High School, Madam President, I can absolutely guarantee, I'm sure the student appreciated the educational value of the letter, even if they were in fact forced to write it. So any true Spartan would feel that way. So just wanted to make that comment. Secondly, just there was a question about the elevator. I know the elevator parts in this building have been ordered. They were ordered on Monday. We're waiting for a response. So I'll give the board a response once I know what the repair timeline is there.
But we do still have the work.
We still have one that's working,
Okay,
right? But
okay.
obviously the
Right.
time to wait becomes a little bit more difficult. And then finally, just highlighting one item on the agenda today is a solid waste management district grant to Mad Tree Brewing. I just think it's always cool to see the types of things that the solid waste district does. In this case, they're actually giving a grant to Mad Tree Brewing, which is matching the funds with some of the dollars of their own to purchase a baler that's going to be used to condense some very hard to recycle, hard to dispose of material that's then going to go to a plastic manufacturer. It's going to keep about a ton of hard to dispose of plastic out of the landfill every year. So another good thing the solid waste district is doing that's helping to cut costs at our local businesses and also protecting the environment at the same time. So I just want to say kudos to Michelle Baltz and the staff over at the solid waste management district. And that is all I have. As I said, there's no formal by leave items today, Madam President.
Thank you so much. We'll move on to our regular agenda items then. We have two from our engineer.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Just two items. The first one is a resolution ordering the county engineer to install no parking signs on the east side of Padretti Road, which is County Road 207. from the center line of Mayhew to a point 120 feet south, approximately in front of 418 Padretti. This came from a request from SORTA. They have a bus stop there and they're having difficulties letting people on and off the bus. This will allow them to get more off the road, a little safer
Mhm.
for people to get on and off.
So can you explain the cost?
There is no cost at all.
I know.
You're right.
but-
There's no
Right.
cost involved. The county engineer's office will install 2 no parking signs. That's the only thing involved with this.
Thank you. How do we decide when there is a cost and when we're just going to do it ourselves?
Typically, signage is our responsibility.
Mhm.
So any regulatory street signs, the county engineer would install.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions or comments? Like to make a motion to approve item 1?
Commissioner Summer Dumas?
Yes.
Commissioner Reese?
Yes.
Commissioner Dreehouse?
Yes.
Thank you.
Mhm.
The next item is a resolution authorizing the Board of County Commissioners to execute a preliminary consent legislation for the I-75 Summit Road and Section Road improvements with the Ohio Department of Transportation. ODOT is improving I-75 in the area of Section and Summit. There's an existing pedestrian facility that crosses I-75. They will be replacing that as part of their I-75 project. So where the sidewalk ties down at Section and Summit, they will be installing a new traffic signal, some new sidewalk and curb ramps and pavement striping. All that cost is being picked up by ODOT. So this is basically allowing them to work in county right of way to perform the construction.
Thank you so much. Any questions or comments?
Yes. So this area, I just want to make sure, there is a New Prospect Baptist Church and a new senior center that has opened up. It has, a lot of activities throughout the week. They're not just open on Sunday, they open all the time. They got a number of programs. Are we letting them know or people know? I know we had something else at one point and I had gotten a call, said, man, nobody called us or told us. How do we reach out?
When ODOT begins the project, they'll handle all the media notifications and public notices. Right now, there shouldn't be any impact to the Summit and Section Road as far as road closures or delays. Since it's all traffic signal related, it's off the pavement. So there shouldn't be any construction delays through that area when it's being built. ODOT has currently not let this project yet. They needed to get some of the other things done first. Once they let the project of pre-construction meeting, somebody from my office will attend and bring those points up.
Great, if you could bring them up. I don't know if it's ODOT, if it's us, but they got the little orange cones and they got the guy with the flag and they
Right.
talking about slow down. And there's a lot of traffic and there were some people saying, at least let us know that these things are happening.
Sure.
So thank you so much. I want to make sure that that was pointed out. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to make what was that? A motion to adopt item 2?
Second,
Commissioner Summer Dumas?
Yes.
Commissioner Reese?
yes.
Commissioner Dreehouse?
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Like your green tie.
Thank you.
Okay, consent agenda. We have items 3 through 20, and I'll just do a general summary of that. And item number 3, I don't know if anybody's here from JFS, or Jeff, you may know, MTM Transit, they bid on this opportunity. I've never heard of MTM Transit unless that's Metro.
Madam President, I believe Laura Wolf is on. Bridget, or I don't know if Bridget's still over there. Leslie,
That's okay.
is Laura on Zoom?
So there was a RFP and they were obviously
Yeah,
the
this-
lowest and best bid.
Yeah, this is a transit company and this is payment for the transportation of adult and
Mhm.
youth transportation services provided by JFS. Yeah, so if it required a competitive bidding, then MTM would have been the lowest and best under the
Okay.
procurement.
And the other reason I asked is because we're trying real hard to get new vendors in. So I just wanted to try to find out if this was a new vendor or not. So, okay. And also, item number 4, we look,
Is
she is
JFS
on there?
Yeah.
Okay.
I am on the phone.
Sorry.
Hi. Thank you so much. I was just asking about MTM Transit. Is that a new vendor?
No, it is not. It's somebody that we've been doing business with for several years. And this is actually related to a PO that had not been increased prior to the deadline for the auditor's office closing down. And so this payment had to be accommodated for services they delivered in December. And so they're not a new vendor. That is as a result of an RFP, as Jeff had stated, but this is also due to their contract that they had in place at the time and services that they had delivered to our customers.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Not a problem. You're welcome.
Some other items on our consent agenda, we're accepting the purchase orders, which I'm sure Laura could speak to that if anyone had any questions. And then there's additional vehicle for probate court that we're hopefully going to approve. We have 2 replacement vehicles for the sheriff department. And I had a question. Actually, we have a purchase of one Chevrolet Tahoe for the sheriff's office that was included in the 2 that I said earlier. But Jeff, I was wondering for item number 10, and I usually get with you before the meeting, I apologize. But as we look at the $599,000 for the budget adjustment, and then it's their engineer road resurfacing and a truck in the auditor's office, just wondering, could we have a breakdown of what that 600,000?
Yeah, certainly. So for the total, the vast majority of that is for a grant for the Addiction Response Coalition. So it's a state grant to support training, collaboration, and technical assistance for the quick response teams that operate under the Addiction Response Coalition. That's 433,266 of that total. So the vast majority. 8,450 is related to the purchase of the truck for the Weights and Measures Division of the Auditor's Office. That was actually in the budget for 2022. The bid process, as we're seeing with a lot of things right now, came back in. The cost had escalated for it. So this is just an additional amount put in for that. And the engineer is the increased construction estimate for the 2022 resurfacing project, which is an additional $158,000.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Yeah. And so we'll move down to JFS. They have several items on here for group home services. And also for foster care, they have 7 agreements or renewals for foster care, which is great. And as I said earlier, we're trying very hard to keep our babies here if we can. All of them are not babies, but if we can locate some facilities or services that would allow us to work with these young people and parents and keep them in the county or near the county, that would be great. And so those are the main things that I had as far as the consent agenda items. Are there any comments or questions? Vice President Reese.
Yes, thank you. Just want to go back to item number 10. One of the things that we talked about, okay, so the grant is $433,266.57. But then it says employee compensation. Is this just one employee or is this with the benefits? Half of that is almost taken in compensation, $227,323.34.
Yeah, so it's certainly more, it's more than one employee, but
Okay.
it's for a staff,
Staff.
everyone
got it.
operating under that specific program.
Okay, yeah, that would just be helpful in the future because it just says employee and compensation. I'm like, whoa, it's like half the grant.
Yeah, this is the peer navigators associated with the quick response team.
Got it. Okay,
Mhm.
that's good to know. Thank you.
Yeah. That's it.
Yep.
Commissioner
I
Greenhouse?
too was going to talk about number 10. But, you know, and recognize that this is a state grant that the HCRC was able to get in order to support the quick response teams. They are, and I think we all went to an event in Walnut Hills where we've had this expansion of the quick response teams and really trying to target the African-American community in Walnut Hills in particular, where we saw a significant increase in overdose deaths. So I was going to congratulate not HCRC so much as the Megan Gosney, who is writing for these grants and is bringing all this money down to the county to enable us to have some of these services throughout the county that are so important to get people into recovery. So I wanted to highlight that one. And the other one, Madam President, you mentioned there are so many JFS items this time. And when you add them up, it's about $10 million that we are allocating for foster care services. And I just think it's notable that when you think about what the county does and, you know, our function by way of county government, taking care of kids and making sure they're safe is a primary function of this county government. And I just want to note that $10 million has been committed just in this one, agenda for making sure kids stay safe in the community. So hats off to JFS for continuing to do some really difficult work here. And I just was struck by the high dollar amount for that one.
Thank you so much for adding it up. I didn't add it up, but I know we continue to put money into that pot. So thank you. Okay. No other conversation or comments. I would like to make a motion to approve items 3 through 20.
Second.
Commissioner Summer Dumas.
Yes.
Commissioner Reese.
Yes.
Commissioner Dreehouse.
Yes.
Thank you so much. With no further business coming before us, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Commissioner Summer Dumas.
Yes.
Commissioner Reese.
Yes.
Commissioner Dreehouse.
Yes.
Thank you.